right, ladies and gentlemen, we are working on the United States political fact sheet from our Unit 3 political patterns and processes. So this one is kind of short. It only has 6 questions in it. So the first one is to ask you to tell me about the religion in the United States. Now, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people are just giving me like a sentence. Most of these short answer things should be multiple sentences. A lot of them can be answered in like 2. Some of them might require 3, but they should not just be a single sentence. Most of them can't be answered that way. So in the religion part of the United States, if you're not familiar with the information, all you need to do is go down to the religion section. Let's see, it's not religion. Here we go, religion. And so, read over this, look at this chart, and then just give me some information. All right, it's not super hard. So, like, for example, you can say that the United States identifies primarily as Christian, with 80% of the population identifying as such. Amongst the remaining 20%, 6% are also unaffiliated religious, and then 10% are either agnostic, atheist, or secular. Just something like that. Like, you're giving me more than just Christian. Right? Like I've been getting some answers like that, and I've been marking them wrong because that's not what it's asking. It didn't say tell me, the most religious. It says tell me about the religion in the United States, right? And there's more than just one religion, so you need to at least mention some of the other ones. The culture of the United States. All right, so this one you're going to have to, read up on the religion. You're going to need to really read up on the culture, and then from that synthesize a few sentences that gives me some information about the culture in the United States. Like, what is important to the people here? What do they focus on? What is common theme that ties everything together? Population makeup. This is another one that I've been marking wrong. So when I say population makeup, what people do is they come here and they go, oh, 331 million. There's 331 million people in the United States. Boom, I'm done, right? That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you what's the total population in the United States. I asked you about the makeup. So you can put the total population in here. That's not a bad number for me to have. But then you need to come down to this section, right, and look at the population pyramid, and then tell me what you see here. Like, is there anything special about this? How's the population of males compared to females? Is there an age group that is bigger than any other age group, right? Like, that kind of stuff is what I'm looking for in the population makeup question. All right, now, who has the power in the United States political system? So this is a new question, all right? This is something that we saw only because we're up here in this political patterns and processes unit. The other stuff is just generic. We've answered it, multiple times. This is new. So in order to answer this, you have to go down to the government, right? And you need to read this whole section on government, right? And use that to tell you how everything is broken up. All right. So that in the United States, we have 3 branches, right? Right here. Executive, judicial, and legislative, right? And this tells you that this is the United States government. So this is the federal government. That is part of who has power in the system. And you can mention our current president, our current vice president. You can talk about, the judicial branch, what it does, right? Because these are the executive branch people. And then the legislative branch, is broken up again. So like, that's some information that you can put there. Like, again, with this, I don't need every single thing, but you need to at least mention the big players, right? So our political system is broken up, like I said, into executive, judicial, and legislative branches. They all need to be mentioned. And you might kind of want to talk a little bit about what they do. How is the power shared at the national level? All right, so the power is shared at the national level between those 3 branches that I just told you about: the executive, judicial, and legislative, right? We have our president, who's the head of the executive. We have the Supreme Court, that is judicial. And then we have the Congress, that is divided into the Senate and the House of Representatives, right? That is where the power is at the national level. And then at the smaller level, they don't really say too much about it. But right here, they talk about state governments. How you have the federal and state governments. That's federalism. So when we're talking about the national, that would be the federal government, right? And then the smaller units of power, that would be the state, county, and then city governments, right? So they don't really talk about the county and the city, but they do talk about the state. So at the very least, you need to kind of talk a little bit about the state governments, and that that's where power is broken up, into little portions for each state, right? Because South Carolina has its own laws and things that it puts in place that North Carolina doesn't. Like North Carolina can't come over and say, "Hey, you need to do this thing," to South Carolina. South Carolina is just going to ignore them, right? Because South Carolina, governs South Carolina, with the exception of federal, laws that they have to follow, that are all part of the federal government. So that is where it's talking about, breaking it down into smaller units. It's just that one little part, one little part there. All right. So as always, if you are confused or you need help, feel free to email me or come by one of the Google Meets. I'm always happy to help you.